Global Socialpreneurs is brought to you in part by Positive Talk Radio, KKNW 1150 AM in Seattle. Check them out at www.positivetalkradio.net.
Welcome to Global Socialpreneurs, a one-of-a-kind talk show showcasing expert social entrepreneurs. Learn their stories and their secrets to creating a sustainable impact. Now, here are your hosts, social entrepreneurs Ann Scottlin and Shametria Gonzales.
Good morning. Hi, Shametria. How are you?
Good morning, Ann. I'm doing lovely.
Wow, you look amazing for being on crazy jet lag. It's not overrated, is it? It's like a thing.
Ooh, no, it's not. Yeah, me and you both decided to take a vacation right in between each other.
No, that's the truth. That's the truth. But you were doing something really incredible and inspiring, and I just love to share that with our viewers before we get started. So tell us about what you were just doing and where.
Yeah, no. So I went to speak at, well, not to speak at, I'm going to manifest that. I went to participate in a Tony Robbins event. I went diamond. I got to sit front row. It was beautiful. I think as entrepreneurs, we always have to continue the process of self-development and continue to be around other high-level achievers. So that was what I did. I decided to do it in the UK because I knew that that would challenge me to get out of my comfort zone. And it was called Unleash the Power Within. And so that really did help me. And I would say to close it off, flying first class, I got to meet Dean DeGrassi and got his contact information and was able to just have this amazing conversation. So I don't regret it at all. It was beautiful.
Wow, that is absolutely amazing. So inspiring. I cannot wait to hear more about that. So thank you for sharing that with everyone. And so welcome back, everyone. You are in the right place for Global Socialpreneurs, our weekly show streaming here on USA Global. And me and my wonderful co-host, Shametria Gonzales, are here with you today. Each week, we bring you the Socialpreneur of the Week. We talk to people who have been doing this, who did it from the grassroots, who are doing it now, or who are doing it for a long time, so that you can learn more about global socialpreneurship. We're really trying to create a new global conversation. I have a dream that what entrepreneurship was in the Western world, and especially in the United States in the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, which was more of a great mad money rush to the top, that social entrepreneurship will become now and in the decades ahead, that young people will aspire to use their entrepreneurial talents, but to be socialpreneurs. There's really no business that can't have a social or environmental initiative attached. And so we're going to talk to amazing people who are doing just that. So today we're talking to an amazing lady and friend of mine, and her name is Kim Schafer. Kim Schafer is a lot of things. She and I, you've heard this before, met each other at a conference where we were both speaking in Washington, D.C. for International Women's Day. I met a lot of great people there. But Kimberly Schafer is an inventor. She's a socialpreneur, and she is doing amazing things. So Shametria, if you're there, I just wanted you to come back on. Okay, good. I was making sure that we were all here in the room together. So I want to just share a little bit more about Kim before we bring her on.
Yes.
So Kim Schafer's an inventor. She's a socialpreneur who uses her product sales to help fight human trafficking, which is exactly what obviously I know you, Shametria, are passionate about. And is the true definition of a social entrepreneur, is using your products or sales in your business to help support a particular social initiative, or your business itself is the social initiative. So Kim is using her products and sales to help fight human trafficking. She spent 33 years in academic research at UC San Diego, and then retired and started her own business. So anyone who thinks they can't start, it's too soon, it's too late, forget it. There is no age when it comes to being creative and doing what you love. Kim developed and patented the Ring Thing, which is a product for safely storing jewelry in all those places that we tend to lose them, where I've lost them on airplanes. Shametria, I'm sure you can imagine what that would be like, etc. So easy to do. And Kim Schafer is currently chairs the Rotary District 5340 Anti-Human Trafficking Task Force. There in San Diego, she chairs the Rotary Anti-Human Trafficking Task Force. So please welcome Kim Schafer.
Yes. Hi. Hi. Good morning. And thank you both so much. I'm just really honored to be here. And I wanted to tell you both how inspiring you each are. And I think what you're doing with this initiative is incredible. So thank you on all counts. And thank you for having me.
You're welcome, Kim. I couldn't wait to get you on the show. I'm literally talking about you. And Anne's like, yep, that's the same Kim that we both know. So I'm like,
oh, thank you.
Yeah, no, that was so perfect. So perfect. So, and thanks for being here. Pacific Coast time, early in the morning today for you, Kim. And, so let's just jump right in. We've got, about 25 minutes to talk about what you've been doing and your social entrepreneurship. So, first of all, tell us a little bit about your background, and then we'll talk even more later in depth about your products.
Yes.
Okay, sure. I'd be happy to. So I worked at University of California at San Diego for 33 years, as you mentioned, and I had a wonderful career. I was the administrative director of the Center for AIDS Research for 15 years and the director of clinical operations with the Alzheimer's Disease Cooperative Study for 14 years. So I often felt like the conductor in an intersection, which is kind of directing the traffic of the research. And I had the opportunity to work with some of the world's leading researchers. And it was one of the things I really appreciated is that every room I was in, there was always someone smarter than me in the room. And that's certainly true even here right now. But I had a fantastic career. And along the way, I started thinking about the ring thing. And I was at a nail salon and didn't have anywhere to put my rings. And we can talk more about that later. But I make that point that in my last 8 years at the university, in my off time, I was working on developing this product. And so it was nice to have that break of really high pressure academic research center work. And then in the evenings and on weekends, as I could, just to work on my own project. And it took a long time, but it all came together. So
that's incredible. What an amazing story. And I just love, having careers back to back, entrepreneurial women powerfully going in, saying, listen, just because I could retire and twiddle my thumbs, I am going to do something important. I'm going to be creative and I'm going to make an impact. So tell us a little bit about the Rotary trafficking organization that you chair and what that does.
Sure, absolutely. So Rotary has more than 1 million members worldwide. And in San Diego, there are 65 clubs, and those are organized into a district. So at the district level, across all of those clubs, we have a task force. I've been the chair of it for about a year. The task force has been in existence for 3 years. So I took over from one of the founders of the task force. And we're made up of members from, I believe, 15 different Rotary clubs right now. We're really focused in 2 areas. The first is doing projects with local nonprofits that are focused on supporting survivors of human trafficking. So we do work projects at the homes. One of the things that's been really important and telling for us is that by us going to the survivors' homes where they're undergoing treatment and training, we go in and we don't work directly with the survivors of trafficking, but we help around the house. We might do landscaping or repairs on the home, and then we leave. And one of the things we realized and learned was that it's really important for the women, primarily women who are coming out of trafficking, to see that people can just do good things because they want to do it. There's nothing transactional about it. We're not asking them for anything. We're just there to help, to give, and to leave. And that has been very powerful for all of us on the task force and in the Rotary District. We're also now starting to talk with local groups about prevention. So we just yesterday had a call with a foster group, a foster youth support program, to see how we can offer support to foster youth who may be at risk for human trafficking. So we're looking at both the prevention side and also helping survivors as they need mentorship and training. I'll also add that our district is very involved in financial mentoring and has a mentoring program for the women going through programs to learn how to balance a checkbook. How do you think about your finances? Because they may have never had mentoring on that. So it's really mentoring them in a hopefully very meaningful way.
No, and that is beautiful. I'm sorry. Thank you so much. That is so beautiful. I really have so much admiration for you and for the things that you're doing. Of course, you know, everyone knows my story if they've been watching the show. As a survivor, the things that you just spoke about of doing stuff and not making it transactional, that's beautiful. And the fact that you have this organization like the Rotary Club, who has such a strong foundation that is supporting this cause, that is even more beautiful. So just thank you for that. I just hold space right now to say thank you for that work that you're doing. And when it comes to being a social entrepreneur, a lot of people think that they have to start a not-for-profit or they have to do something that is out of their way or make, like, I see that you found a way to do your work, do your projects, and then get with an organization that's already supporting survivors and just be there. So I think that in the midst of doing those different things, that your service, it isn't taking anything away from you. So if you have, do you have any advice for entrepreneurs that are looking for a way to get in and help? Or how did you find the Rotary Club? Like, what was that process like for you?
Yes. Well, first of all, thank you. Thank you. And I really admire the work that you're doing as well. So thank you for that. I've been a Rotary member since about 2013. And I first started getting interested because of the international projects. And I went to Tanzania with my father to work on some of his Rotary projects with clean drinking water in the Kilimanjaro area. And so that's what really got me intrigued. And then I went to the International Rotary Conference in Hamburg in 2019, and they had a whole panel section for multiple days on human trafficking. And they had women talking who may have been trafficked from West Africa into Europe under the guise of an educational scholarship. And they got to Europe and then were actually trafficked, and there was no educational scholarship. Or there was a mother whose daughter was targeted by a gang on the East Coast, and she talked about that whole experience and the fear that their family lived in and what they had to do to get their daughter back. And so all of that really spoke to me. And then I started learning more about trafficking in San Diego. And in San Diego, our county alone, it's an $800 million a year business. Wow. And it's really a problem. And one of the things that we're educating Rotarians about throughout the county is often because we're right on the border with Mexico, many people here assume that the women who are trafficked are coming across the border. And it's not true. About 80% of trafficking is done with local San Diego young women and men. So it's really a local issue. And we're really looking at that and trying to see what we can do to address it locally, including educating people, not just Rotarians, but people across the board. What can you do? And Shametria, I've heard you say, you know, if you see something, say something. Yes. And just teaching people, like, what are those signs that you might see and how do you say something? Wow. So we're working really hard on that.
Wow. No, thank you. Thank you so much for that. Welcome back, Ann. So we just were kind of going over what most social entrepreneurs think they have to do versus how easy it is to help. She, like Ann, most of the time, like people that we've talked to, and Kimberly, they don't really understand what social entrepreneurship is. So they'll think that they have to start a not-for-profit or do something like that. And Kimberly is literally saying, I went and was just joining the Rotary Club, and they had this initiative, and it felt called to my heart. And we show up, we work collaboratively with other not-for-profits in order to make this work. And I think that that's one of the biggest takes, that for the social entrepreneurs out there listening, you don't have to start something from the grassroots. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You just have to take a cause and join that cause. But also, if you have proceeds or a business, there's ways that you can give back through just financially, but she gives back by going and serving with her hands. So I just think it's brilliant all around the board.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. And I would also add to your point about how people can get involved in whatever their passion is, even when they're just starting their business. So I do give a small portion of each sale to one of the local nonprofits.
Wow.
I also donate when they've had fundraisers to raise money for them.
Yeah.
I've donated product so that they can sell that and get some of the proceeds from that. So I would say, as now that my business is growing, but especially in the beginning, I'm still not able to write $100,000 check. You know, I'm not able to do that. And I hope too soon, but I'm not able to do that. But I would say to anyone to find their passion, and then just find whatever small ways you can give. Like, as you said, Shametria, whether it's through your own efforts, through donating product, or just giving a small amount of money, or putting information on social media about the cause that you support.
I love that. And social media is such a powerful part of it. And the idea that social entrepreneurs, I think the biggest difference between just having a business and making an occasional donation, there's a fine line. We always say this: social entrepreneurship is not rigidly defined, so it gives us a lot of wiggle room. However, you know, the difference really is that it's intentional. That's the difference. That a person's business, their entrepreneurship, is set up with an intention, either from the beginning or starting now, with an intention and a commitment that certain percent of the proceeds, profits, are going to go to this particular charity. And not only is it more motivating to the individual, but it's also motivating to the customers. I love what Tammy Jordan said from Fruits of Labor. I think we may all actually in this room know her, when she was on a few weeks ago, and she talked about, she said, when I talk to social entrepreneurs, I always encourage them not to worry about what comes first. Is it the initiative or is it the business? Don't worry. For her, the business came first and the initiative came second, after she visited a woman in her local prison and decided to go into helping create a rehabilitation program for ex-con women through her 5 bakeries and the other things she does. So it's like, you don't know what's going to come first. There's no right or wrong answer. The idea is having a mindset that's open. Instead of a business being entirely for profit, for individual profit, for corporate profit, it is built around the concept that it is supporting an initiative, which is exactly what you're doing, Kim. So, and I love how you suggested for people to, you know, just taking small steps, looking for opportunities. If you don't know your passion project yet, then check out a few things. Find the thing that really clicks for you.
Yes, it's true.
Now, Kim, I want to pivot, because ring thing, now we got your cause out. We have your cause. Everybody kind of knows what that is. And we see why you want to do it. Take us back to that moment when you were in the nail shop and you were like, where do I put my ring? Like, I have nowhere to put it. I don't want to lose it. Like, what was that moment for you? And what was the epiphany to make you act on it?
Yeah, well, yes, thank you. It was, it's funny because even though it was a long time ago now, it was 10 years ago, I still remember that moment when I just, you know, I would go to get manicures pretty regularly, and I was always taking my rings off and stuffing them in my purse, or sometimes laying them on the manicure table, but there was no organized place to put them. Occasionally there might be a small bowl, but that would be it. And also with the small bowl, everybody can see your ring. And I was concerned about that. So I just thought there has to be a way. There has to be a way. And I was thinking about it. And my very first model of the ring thing was made out of paper towel, like an origami. And I just folded it up in the way that I had in mind and came up with the shape. And I thought this would be great. And when I would look around the nail salon, I'd say, everybody here needs one. Every single person is facing the same issue as I am. And then as I looked at my own life, I saw the need grow. I would go to the gym and take my rings off when I went to get a massage, or when I was traveling and taking multiple rings with me. So it just really grew. And at the same time, I was a little bit stymied because I have this model. I had the idea and I had no idea how to manufacture anything. I didn't know anything about injection molding. So I just started step by step, and I hired an engineering intern at the university to help me with the drawings one summer. So he did the initial drawings for the ring thing, and he got the first 3D model made. And to tell you how much things have changed, the first 3D model cost $100 to make. And now I think you can probably get a 3D model for $15, but
wow, right?
yeah. So that has really changed. But then I just started reading about how do I do injection molding? What is an injection molding company? And because I was working in a very high pressure job, I could only work on the ring thing bit by bit along the way. And that actually turned out to be to my benefit in many ways. I was able to work with an attorney and get the patents filed. I was able to start the company, and along the way then find an injection molding company. So it all kind of came together. It took a long time, and it was 2021, early 2021, before I actually had any product to sell in my hands. So it's an 8-year process to get it, but it was worth it. And I just kept thinking, I don't want to get to the end of my life and wonder what could have happened. I want to try. I really want to try this.
Wow. That's beautiful. No, thank you for sharing that, because some people, they have to go back to that moment and remember their why. And most people think, oh, my why has to be so. No, my why is I needed somewhere to put my rings. Like that thing. But when you worked on it little by little by little, and you were able to work collaboratively with an intern, people think, like I also did that with my project when I had a Robertson Scholar from Duke University. That was my intern all summer when I first was starting my project for women that had been trafficked. So she helped me create everything. And so like just that internship work, like finding people to help you do what you need to do, and also doing it on budget and taking your time, that patience. How long do you think it took you before you were actually able to start? Like, and you had it in your hand, and how many years? So people can really understand.
Yes, I would say it was a good year to year and a half before I had a 3D model in my hand.
Yeah.
And then it was late 2020 before I had that first prototype in my hand.
Wow.
So it was 7 years. Yeah.
7?
Yes, 7 years before I had actually the first prototype. And so it was a very slow, and I was working on grants. And so, along the way, like we put in, I think 2 5-year applications to NIH for $15 million grants. And there were times when I would literally sleep on my office floor. And so I would just sort of have to accept, I'm not gonna be able to work on the ring thing for a little while. And then I would always keep coming back to it. And I really, when I was in school, one of my advisors told me that the people who succeed aren't necessarily the smartest, but they're the most persistent. And so that's always stuck in my head. And I thought, I'm just going to be persistent, and I'm going to keep going at it.
All right. That's some keys to all the social entrepreneurs out there listening. Are you willing to give up 7 years for your dream? Like, seriously, some people, we just want it right now. And to me, I think that having entrepreneurs come on here, social entrepreneurs that now can say, I do this, this, and this, but they never really have broken down how long it took them. So I thank you for diving into that.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for asking.
Welcome.
Yeah, I guess I was muted. And being realistic, so that people understand, how long it takes. It doesn't have to be that long. Other people may start with a business that is already existing and decide to restructure it in a way so that it becomes a social entrepreneurship to support a specific cause. But being an inventor is absolutely brilliant. I love inventors. I love women inventors. And I just think that, that entrepreneurial spirit, that energy, the dedication is a lot. And a lot of people say, I don't know. But I find, and this is just my own experience, I find when there's a passion attached, it becomes even more empowered in building the business, in promoting the product, because now you're not just doing it for yourself. You're doing it to help women recovering from some of the worst experiences that could be experienced. So now you're like, this is not just about me succeeding, because, I could quit. I wouldn't starve. I'd probably have a roof over my head. Someone would let me live with them, whatever it is. You're retired anyway, right? Like, but what makes me get up in the morning and not just entertain myself to death every day, watch TV 24 hours a day? Like why? Because you're making a difference as a human being. You're making an impact in the world. And I love that this can be applied to any level of business, from a cleaning business out of your home, a babysitting business out of your home, to a giant corporation. It can happen in any country of the world. Anyone, almost anyone, can be a social entrepreneur. I think the biggest criteria is a good work ethic, but even more, a commitment to the cause and a willingness to get the help, the support, the coaching, whatever that means, to have a business plan and be organized in the way you run it, because you're not just running it as a charity, as a handout. You're like, this is a business. In order for it to be successful, even after I maybe walk away from it, it has to be structured in a certain way, which is really, really beautiful. So how did you find funding at the very beginning, Kim? Because I know that's one of the questions we get a lot from social entrepreneurs. Sometimes it's their own, sometimes it's a mixture of things. What was your journey?
So for me, it was primarily, and I agree, I mean, that's a really big challenge. For me, it was primarily my own funding. And that's also where the long development process helped. I had enough money to pay the intern over the summer, and then, the next step didn't happen for a little while. My father also made a small loan to me to help with the patent filing, and so that was very helpful. Otherwise, it's, and I have had a couple of friends who have supported things. Like I worked with an influencer, and there was a pretty hefty fee for that. And so one of my friends volunteered to pay that cost.
Wow.
So I did have support from friends along the way. Primarily, it's been my own money, but I'm very grateful for the support that I've gotten.
That's incredible. Because that's one of the first things we talk about too, which is whether it's crowdfunding in the formal sense through platforms, or whether it's by reaching out. The very first steps of the most successful socialpreneurs and entrepreneurs I know usually has been friends and family reaching out. And I have another question for you. It's not quite related, but what has been the most fun of all the hard work in this business journey for you?
Yeah, thank you. That's a great question. I would say a couple of things. For me, the initial great feeling was holding it in my hand and saying, wow, this in my hand is what I had envisioned in my head. And I was very fussy about the parts. I'm very fussy about the clip, the clasp that you clasp it to things with. I probably got 40 of them to sample until I landed on one. And the separator disc, every piece I was very fussy about. And so when I finally got it, I say, this is incredible. It jumped from my head to my hand. This is great. I would say the other fun part has been learning. I love going to the injection molding company and seeing the machines and just learning about that whole manufacturing process. It's so different from the science that I grew up with, I would say, in my career. And then the last thing has just been seeing other people use it. I, work out at a boxing gym, and my coach is a former world featherweight champion, Tiger Smalls, and he uses his ring thing, and some of the fighters there. And when I get stories from people and see how they've used their ring thing, just knowing that other people like it and use it and it's helpful has been great. So I would say those are the most fun things that have happened.
Now, I heard you mention something I haven't heard anyone else mention, and this is my secret sauce. Influencers. Like, if you have a product, you have a service, paying an influencer to promote that and getting that ROI, how was that for you? And why do you suggest that other entrepreneurs use that as a form of marketing? Because honestly, I haven't heard anyone else say that that's something that they've used. And it just reminded me of how good of a tool that is.
Yes. Thank you. I agree. And I've done it a couple of different ways. I would say the woman who I paid was fantastic. She put up TikTok video, a couple of Instagram videos, and she at that time had about 60,000 followers. And now I believe she's up to 200,000. And so she's very successful. So that was just helpful getting the word out and allowing me to then repost those things. And, part of my journey has been learning about social media.
Yes.
That's been, I'm not an expert at it, and I'm learning. And so, especially early on, it was helpful to work with an influencer who does know how to do those things. I've also worked with influencers and reached out to them and sent them ring things, and then for free. And then they in turn do some posts for that. And you can also offer people a code. So, I would say, Shametria, for your followers, I can set up a code and they can get a 10% discount, or, so that's another way. And then I give them a portion of each of those sales using the code. So there's different ways to pay, because it can get very expensive with influencers.
Yeah.
So, but I would say it's been very worth it. And partly on my journey of learning, it's been very helpful to see how they do things.
Wow. And pardon me. Anne normally asks this question, so I'll chip in on this one. Pardon me. You do Ring Thing. You served 33 years in your education. You waited 7 years while working to create Ring Thing. You chair the Rotary Club. You're a businesswoman, an entrepreneur, social entrepreneur. You also serve with your hand and your time. How do you take care of yourself in the midst of all of that? And what's one advice that you would give to other social entrepreneurs that are doing all of these things and trying to maintain sanity?
Oh, that's such an important question. I'm really glad you brought that up. And I have been learning about that also. I can't emphasize self-care enough to people. It's so easy. And I have fallen victim to this too, where I look and say, oh, I can't go work out because I've got to do these 5 things. I've got to get out the shipment, or I've got to do this. And I always suffer for it. So I would say, whether it's, sometimes I get up early in the morning. I'm Buddhist, and so I meditate every day. So for me, sometimes it's getting up early in the morning and making sure that I have my meditation session in the morning. I'm lucky that my boxing gym is a 7-minute drive from my house. So I really feel like I have no excuse not to get to class. I can get there very easily and get home. So, it does mean making that a priority. And tomorrow I'm leaving to go away for the weekend with some of my girlfriends in Cleveland. We're all getting together. And even with that, I have found myself really having to tell myself, you deserve this, because I look at it and say, is it really a good time for me to be away? I could get all these things done. And I'm really keeping myself focused on, no, self-care is important, and you got to take a break sometimes. And in the larger picture, but on a daily basis, whether it's carving out 15 minutes of quiet time, going for a walk in between tasks, just finding a way to do some personal care in there. That would be my biggest advice to anyone, but especially social entrepreneurs. Don't get so caught up that you don't take care of yourself. You can't pour from an empty cup.
Because I think we all in this room have experienced burnout. We all know what that is like, hitting the burnout point. And, occasionally there's that emergency, that once in a year opportunity you have to push through. But structuring in and taking care. When I got back from Milan a few weeks ago, it's so hard for me to unplug from work. It's just because I love working. But what I unplugged pretty well on that trip. And one of the things that I came home with was, the work is important, but really enjoying life, reveling in the moment, hearing the birds sing, breathing the fresh air, like being alive. My life could be much simpler and I could be just as happy. So let's not lose ourselves in the moment. We never know if we'll have the gift of tomorrow. So let's follow the dream, and let's also live our joy, because I think one of the big important things for me around entrepreneurship, and especially around social entrepreneurship, is leading by example. And, we have seen these example of, the Mark Zuckerberg and all these people, right, who used to do the 22-hour days. And we've seen that model and we've seen it be successful, but it's not sustainable. And it also can be really detrimental. And what we want to teach, like you're saying, Kim, getting in that meditation, getting in your exercise, taking care of yourself. What we want to teach is a long-term sustainable path to this as a lifestyle, social entrepreneurship as a lifestyle that we can lead our coworkers, the younger generation, any people to follow and say, and part of it is taking care of yourself. So I always love it when Shametria reminds us to ask that question. Thank you, Shametria.
Yeah, it's an important one, and it's easy to overlook. And and especially as social entrepreneurs, while we're giving to other people and our cause, it's also important to give to ourselves. you know,
Yeah.
and just keep that in mind.
Brilliantly said, and takes me to one of my most important comments of all time. No, in the social entrepreneurship conversation, which is this is one of the things that sets us apart in some ways from traditional nonprofits, which is you're allowed to profit. Now, we're not trying to buy yachts and planes for ourselves. We're saying I get to live a comfortable lifestyle in a reasonable way, in a safe place. And then I also get to use these profits to support my area of passion and really make an impact in the world. But the difference is it's a win-win. It's win for you because you get to increase your profits. It's win for your customers because they get to support someone who is supporting incredible social initiatives. And it's a benefit for the social initiatives because they're benefiting in the end, and all those individuals who you may never even see face to face, but who you've touched through your dedication and hard work. Well, I just want to let us know that we're wrapping up here in the last minute or two. Any final questions for Kim, Shametria?
Well, I would say just a final comment to all of our social entrepreneurs that are listening out there. I met Kim and Ann because we showed up in the room at a conference called Her Story Circle. And all of this right now that you see was from us showing up in the room and putting our stories out there and connecting and following up. And this is social entrepreneurship. Us coming together and collaborating, connecting, talking, to be able to be in this room to serve others. That's also an act of it. So never stop learning, never stop growing, and never stop showing up in the room, because you never know who that one or two people may be that can help you to get on the journey or stay on the journey that God has called you to do. So that's literally a reflection of what we're doing here right now. 3 complete strangers that met each other and decided to work together in collaboration. So I just want to honor this moment.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. And we want to let everyone know you can look in the notes here on the show to find out more about the Ring Thing, to help support efforts fighting against human trafficking, to help support our social entrepreneur Kim in her journey to make an impact and make a difference and see an incredible product. So go over to her website or Google Ring Thing and find out how you can get involved. It's great. And you know, maybe your social entrepreneurship can even link up with Kim's, and it can be a win-win. You know, maybe you're in the jewelry business and this is something that you can integrate into your business and also then be specifically supporting a cause. So always thinking outside the box. That's who we are as social entrepreneurs. Kim, thank you so much for being here. Truly such a lovely gift of your time, your energy, your amazing sweetheart, and your strong back that does all the heavy lifting in your business. Sometimes literally. So thank you for being here. Thank you all of you who joined us today. We're here. We stream every week here on USA Global TV at 12 p.m. Let's see. Yes, 12 p.m. Eastern. I always got to make sure which zone am I in today. 12 p.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Check us out. Also, you can click over to our playlist and see some of our other episodes from other incredible social entrepreneurs. And join us next week. We have another amazing story coming to you from a gentleman in Texas who is doing amazing things for families and families of cancer victims and survivors of cancer. Really a passion project. You're going to love that as well. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
Yes. Be well and be kind. Bye.
Bye.